Depression is projected to become the world's leading illness burden by 2030. Ms. McCloud is a mental health therapist, an emotional wellness coach.
I really found my way on this journey a little accidentally. I had a pretty intense mental health crisis on my own hands. I just was asleep for the first time in a long time. All brains have challenges of processing some things. That's part of being a human, and often complex PTSD is the root of all of these things. Prefrontal cortex, our thinking center, likes to do is think it's the boss and in the command center, and interventions we're using really send enough safety signaling up to the survival system. Interventions like emotional freedom techniques, we're using the body, we're tapping on specific meridian points. Our brain really needs two ingredients to heal. It needs a regulated brain state and attention to the actual problem.
In each episode, we dwell into the realms of wellness, exploring the latest trends, expert advice, and practical tips to help lead you a happy, healthier life. We aim to bring a broader perspective to our American audience on issues that impact your daily life by interviewing guests from the US and around the world. From nutrition and fitness to mental well-being and beyond, we're here to empower you with knowledge and inspiration. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, revamp your diet, or simply trying to find a balance in your lifestyle, you're at the right place. Join us as we embark on a journey towards a better, brighter you. I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan, and together let's unlock the secrets to living life to its fullest. Depression is projected to become the world's leading illness burden by 2030. That's according to the WHO. Major depression disorders manifests through symptoms like persistent low mood, inability to feel pleasure, worthlessness, and fatigue. Beyond emotional suffering, major depression significantly increases the risk for physical health complications and, alarmingly, suicide. It demands a revolutionary approach, an approach that builds resilience from within. By accessing transformating healing methods that address the root causes and not just the symptoms. Imagine a path to emotional wellness that addresses symptoms and empowers individuals to heal from within, fostering resilience, lasting changes as well. Welcome to another enlightening episode of KhanKlinics. I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan, and today we have the privilege of speaking with a trailblazer in mental health and emotional wellness, Rachelle McCloud. Her innovative work combines cutting-edge techniques, passionate guidance to help individuals overcome emotional challenges and reclaim their lives. Ms. McCloud is a mental health therapist, an emotional wellness coach at Goodness Recovery with over 2 decades of experience. She's also a licensed clinical social worker. Based in Salem, Oregon, she specializes in helping individuals overcome anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, and others by addressing the root causes of emotional distress. She has obtained advanced certification in thought field therapy, TFT, and Eden Energy Medicine, EEM. These qualifications underpin her integrative approach to mental health, combining traditional therapy with energy-based modalities. Rachel's approach integrates different modalities. These include emotional freedom techniques, eye movement techniques, and others which we're going to talk about. And beyond her clinical work, she is a dedicated mentor and an educator and offers intensive coaching programs. Miss Rachel, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let's just start by discussing, first of all, walk us through your journey, what led you to this path of becoming a coach, addressing mental issues, and what's your passion, how you're here?
Yeah. I really found my way on this journey a little accidentally. And I ended up getting a degree in social work. I wanted to be a therapist. And I found that when I was practicing therapy, that was not what I wanted to do. And so I left the field pretty angry and unsettled because I wanted results. And I really felt like I was in a position where I was going to be perpetuating coping strategies instead of healing strategies. And I didn't know what to do about that at the time. And I don't know that I had enough conscious awareness of that, but I was very distressed about it. So I ended up staying at home with my children. And after my third child, I had a pretty intense mental health crisis on my own hands. And if I look back before that, I had several mental health crises. I come from a family with a lot of unresolved trauma. And so I needed help. I got my first diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder. And pretty quickly after that, I started needing alternative services because my family was not getting the support it needed for some health challenges. I ended up with this woman who did some really alternative work, and she helped my son overcome a problem in 3 days that the regular traditional medicine was just telling me I should cope with. And so she did that. So I went back and I said, I have this obsessive compulsive disorder. Could you help me? Do you know anything? And she said, yeah, watch this video, do what it says, it will change your life. And so she handed me the DVD training series, DVDs way back in the day here, for emotional freedom techniques. And so here I got this really weird intervention, which was wonderful because I was not going back to the traditional routes. And so the fact that it was weird was very appealing to me because it was not that. And so, and at this time, she was so fantastic that if she would have told me to stand on my head and kick my legs around and that will heal you, I would have done it. But I tried this intervention with this insomnia I had developed, and I couldn't sleep. I had racing thoughts, and I pulled it out, and I was like, and I tried to tap on the points that I'm supposed to tap on, and I yawned, and I was still kind of focusing on it. So I tried it again, and I fell asleep. I did not choose to fall asleep. I just was asleep for the first time in a long time. Because, if you've got young children, somebody's going to wake up and I got to get to sleep right now. And so I just was in that. And all of a sudden I was out. I woke up. I felt rested. And I was like, what else can I try this on? I never had that insomnia problem again. And now we are talking about this is something that works. And so I tried it on several other things that I was having obsessions and compulsions with, and those resolved. And it resolved, and I didn't have to do the compulsion anymore. I could actually just do the healthy thing. And then I fast forward to resolving my obsessive compulsive disorder and really digging in and diving into my complex traumatic childhood and generational patterns of trauma. I started getting training because I was like, does this work for everybody else? And if I ever go back to work, this is what I'm going to do, because this is what I'm talking about. This is real results. And so it turns out it does work for other people. I thought it was that the intervention was so phenomenal, emotional freedom techniques, that I was kind of an intervention snob. And I was like, you need this. But when I took more trainings and learned about the brain and interpersonal neurobiology and how the mind-body system metabolizes and utilizes all this emotion and emotional distress to create health and wellness, that actually all these painful emotions are actually part of our team, our wellness team. It's not that we need to get away from them. We actually need to help the body metabolize them and convert them into usable, healthy things. Oh, then I was like, we're actually supporting the brain. So then I needed to learn all the interventions. And I really wanted to have enough interventions that would match and fit a broad spectrum of clients: nervous system, brain function, morals, values, religions, those sorts of things, that I could find an intervention that would help their brain really process emotion and help them heal. And so that's really where I'm at on this.
So it's a personal journey, and it led to a passion afterwards, because you found a root and a cause and a way of where you feel like you personally got better. Now you want to spread it to the other people. So it's pretty fascinating. It's always a strong tie when you personally have experienced everything. So let's come to your patients, and you've experienced this. What do you see as in your patients the common symptoms, we want to say, that alerts you, this person I can help. This person is one who needs help. How do you break them up? And what sort
Okay.
of causes are you breaking them into? So two areas, symptoms that alerts you, and then how are you going to categorize your patients or people that come across and say, huh, these are the ones I'm going to really help.
Yeah. So I'm lucky because I really help brains function optimally. So I really help everybody who has a brain, and that's all of us. And all brains have challenges processing some things. That's part of being a human. It's part of the design. It's part of why we're tribal in nature, is because our brain doesn't do everything. And so our brains do require specific supports. In childhood, some of these supports were not there. And so there's work that needs to be accomplished to be healthy and well that wasn't able to be done in childhood because there really wasn't enough safety, there wasn't enough security, there wasn't enough stability to accomplish that work. And so really I'm helping people do that now. So and also, because I'm a therapist, the people that come to me already know they have a problem. Sometimes they don't know what their problem is. They just kind of hand me their brain function and like, help me, right? And some of them hand me their life and their symptoms. Hey, I want to do this, but I can't seem to do that. I'm actually doing the opposite. I want to do something constructive, but I end up being destructive instead of reaching my goal. And so what I do is really, I really look at what's going on brain function wise. I look at the symptoms, and people typically fall into categories of anxiety based challenges, depression, and trauma, and complex trauma. And often complex PTSD is the root of all of these things. So if somebody comes to me and they've had anxiety for a long time since childhood, they likely have a more complex history of abuse, neglect, or just generational patterns of misusing emotions and not really using emotions for the health and wellness creation process. So their system gets all the same emotions everybody else gets, but instead of doing something healthy with it, we're using it for anxiety, depression, symptoms, defensiveness, those sorts of things. So
Okay, thank you for answering that. So you've identified that they're going to be groups of people. There are normal, who you can coach them and be better, and then there are a subgroup of other people who have manifested symptoms as well. Like, for example, you said they're abused, there's neglect, there's underlying trauma and stuff. As a coach, what is your targets that you want to achieve with the subset of people that you have got? Both groups. The normal
yeah.
healthy mind, you want to make it better and keep on functioning, and then the ones who have manifested symptoms and you want them to get now better.
Well, I do this a little different because I have both people in both groups. The difference with the coaching is that I have a coaching relationship with them, and the difference between therapy is that I have a therapeutic relationship. So people that come to me through coaching, I'm really teaching them how to use the interventions to help their brain heal. So I'm really mentoring that. I'm teaching them to self-apply. These are people that want to do the healing work, and maybe their therapist doesn't teach them how to do it. They work with their therapist in sessions, or these are also people that are on spiritual journeys. They want to improve their relationships, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and so I really teach them how to do the brain work for that. I guide them through that process. Sometimes in coaching, I will get people that are like, "Look, my mental health is awful, and I want to know how to heal myself." And so I will show them brain function. So I'm really teaching people to support their brain to get their goal. And so some of that goal is to repair their mental health. And some of that goal is like, hey, I'm doing pretty well, but I have this invisible ceiling here. I can't get past it in my business. I can't get past it in my relationship. I can't get past it in my parenting relationship. And so they sense into their goals and that there is a block to getting it. And I guide and coach people through strategies of getting their brain to do that. Because remember, at the end of the day, your mind, body system, and brain have to do all this work to support you. It's not just, I decide to do it, I'm doing it. That's lovely. And that's what our prefrontal cortex, our thinking center, likes to do, is think it's the boss and in the command center. And you are, but at the end of the day, your team your mind body system team has to reorganize, has to go through its process of reorganizing to help you. If it doesn't go through its process of helping you, then you're up here deciding what you're going to do, but your behaviors never match up. Your belief system never matches up. You will not get to your goal because your team is divided. Your brain and your body and your subconscious mind can't go through their process of making the shifts to help you go. And that's the design. Is really, we do want the command center saying, hey, these are my goals, this is what I want to do. And we want the mind body system showing up and saying, absolutely, let's do that. And because of pain, emotional pain, relationship pain, traumatic pain, generational patterns of pain, that shuts down our ability to digest and process and learn from the mind body system's perspective. And so if we're trying to create these shifts, but really what's underneath is that your brain is like, well, I'd love to help you, but remember this time that we tried to do this before and then bad things happened? I haven't worked that through yet. So I don't know if this is going to be safe, so I'm not going, right? And so we need to walk the brain through its process of figuring out, yeah, is this safe or not? And it has to review these past traumatic experiences and decide for itself if it's safe. And I feel like that's a complex answer. And I know that there's a more simple way of saying that. So I'd love let's pull that one apart together.
Sure. I get that. And I think you're right in saying, first of all, you're helping them identify their goals. It's not about your goals, it's about their goals. And then you're dissecting the process through and trying to achieve first a normality and then keep them on the wellness plan. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, you just mentioned earlier a bit of something about emotional freedom. And that's where you said, oh, I got lightened and I felt a weight off my shoulders. It seemed like that. And it seemed like, oh, my insomnia improved, my OCD improved. Tell us a little bit about that. How are you using those techniques? Are there any techniques? Now, how is it helping facilitate you get to your goals that you're looking for?
Great question. Well, the brain does not have a problem with our problems. The brain is designed to work through our problems, solve them. I mean, it is a problem-solving machine. However, the brain does have problems with how we feel about our problems, and our feelings, they run through our nervous system and they have to make it up the brainstem through our little process here, and they have to go past the survival system. The survival system reads what's happening first. And if any of that is pain, it's shifting out of a processing mode and into survival modes of fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, and defend and collapse, all of those things. So if there's pain moving through the system, we're going over there. That's how brains are designed. That's not a choice. However, these interventions we're using really send enough safety signaling up to the survival system in the way that it can understand. It's the survival system is not a talking center. It's not a reasoning center. You can't argue or talk with it and expect results. Its job is to sit on top of the brainstem and decide if we're going to live or we're going to die in every single moment. And if we are, we need to take actions. So it's just reacting. And so while we have problems, we're also running into our emotions that register as pain in the brain, like fear, grief, anger, frustration, sorrow. All of those will register in the brain like pain, just like being stabbed in the gut will. And that shifts the survival system into reaction mode. And hey, we're going to die. We need to move. Okay. And now these other interventions, like emotional freedom techniques, we're using the body, we're tapping on specific meridian points, usually end points or beginning points of specific meridians, and we're tapping on those and different spaces. And we're actually using the body to send safety signals to the survival system that it will understand. And so when the survival system receives enough safety signaling, it shifts out of survival mode and into processing, healing, digesting, resting. And that includes all the emotions, digesting and healing all the experiences, digesting and healing all the relationship issues and the stressors. And now we're in that state where you're going to have more epiphanies, more insights, more abilities. But if we take it back to my issue with laying in bed at night and having insomnia, and oh my gosh, somebody's going to wake up and I'm not going to get any sleep, and right, I'm in panic. I'm that rapid breathing is signaling danger. That's what we do when we're being chased by tigers. So I'm sending signals that we are not safe. And then I'm worried. And so I've got this worry going, and my brain is going farther and farther into a survival state, and it's ramping up. And that's a lot of energy. That's not sleep time. So when I started using those interventions, I'm signaling safety even while I'm worrying, because worrying is a wonderful brain process. It just needs to complete. And if it's going that way, it's not completing. And so here, I moved my brain accidentally, unintentionally, unbeknownst to me, into a state where it could process all that stuff. And it decided, based on reading all the things I was worried about, that we are actually safe and it's time for bed. So go to sleep. So the brain's just making better decisions because it thought I was being chased by tigers based on what I was doing, what I was thinking, and how I was responding. But really, I was just worried, and so I was able to process that stuff out, and then I just ended up in the right behavior. This happens when we're parenting, right? Our child says something that we think is disrespectful, then it's like that triggers all this distress, and we can see we got flashbacks going on, and then we're thinking about other people. What are they going to think about us when we're creating more of a survival state, and next thing you know, we're interacting with our kid in fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. We're becoming passive, we're becoming aggressive, we're becoming passive aggressive, we're becoming manipulative with our child because our brain is moving in that other survival state. All of a sudden, you start using an intervention in that moment, which is what I guide people to do. And all of a sudden, the brain is sorting out all this stuff. Is this real? Is this not real? Is this from right now? Is this relevant? And it decides, you know what, we're overreacting. And in real time, you start to notice yourself show up more like you have some healthy brain function, like you're seeing things from multiple perspectives, you're analyzing the data, you're asking helpful questions, you're not being defensive, you're being receptive. And it changes by just having that healthy brain process running. It changes the way you're showing up with your children. Now you're modeling to them a brain that is regulated and is calm and can solve problems, and it's not making more problems, making more destruction, right? So we're modeling a right brain state to the child and effective problem solving skills. That changes relationship dynamics between the parent and child. And it's also loading up into the child's subconscious programming a healthy way of being. And now you just got rep 1. And now we're going to do it. Can we do it 2 times? Can we do it 3 times? Now we're going to repattern it so it becomes part of your unconscious processes. And that's how you show up now. You show up in that whole brain processing state, and your kids start relying on you I can talk to my mom, I can bring stuff to my dad, and we're going to really have a constructive interaction together. So just by getting the brain to change, we can really change the generational patterns, the legacy we're leading, and then also the health and wellness in our own body, because all that backed up distress is not healing, it's not processing, it's growing, because you got to add the next one and the next one and the next one, and it's too much for bodies to do, and then your health starts deteriorating.
Thank you for explaining that. I guess from our perspective, I think it's more about identifying the sympathetic responses versus the parasympathetic, changing them to the mode where they become in a parasympathetic stage rather than fight, flight, anxiety, depression, this, and there's sympathy. And then you're sort of identifying, healing them in. We know that you use eye movement desensitization and reprocessing techniques. Tell us what that is, and how do you deploy those techniques?
Yes, all of our brain really needs 2 ingredients to heal. It needs a regulated brain state and attention to the actual problem. And so what I say is we need attention and intervention. And I say intervention because most of the nervous systems and brains that come to me are in a survival mode, are patterned. They're habitually in a survival state and inaccurately in a survival state. And so I know we're going to need to pull that brain and teach it, hey, not that route, this route. And so we're using interventions to really make sure that's happening. One of those interventions is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. All of the interventions will also help with reprocessing. And these interventions all work a little differently for the brain. They provide the brain just a smidge of different support. But eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is a lot of, there's different ways to apply it. You can use your visuals, so you're going back and forth with your eyes, or diagonal. You want to cross the midline because you want to get the right brain hemisphere talking. You can tap alternately. So this is like the butterfly hug. You can do this. This is also EMDR. And there's audio. So you can have there's EMDR music, there's EMDR tones, and they just take the brain and put it in a processing state. They shift it out of that dysregulated survival state or the sympathetic nervous system state and put it into the parasympathetic. And get that relaxation, put it into digestion and processing mode. So that's the intervention. And then if we're going to do specific and targeted work, which is really an important part of healing, we're going to choose a problem, whether it's usually a past memory, frequently with EMDR, and we're going to pay attention to it. We don't want to pay too much attention to it because we can't overload somebody's ability to sit with it. Some of this stuff that we are asking people's brain to process is absolutely horrifically traumatic. And so some people cannot do EMDR. Some people need to have a lot of protective strategies when they're doing it. So I do teach people how to self-apply EMDR, but I don't teach it right away because you need quite a bit of skill to keep yourself safe and to learn about your nervous system and whether or not your nervous system is going to be able to process something through EMDR. So, and then when we choose that memory, we have people focus on that memory while their eyes are moving. And so we're letting the brain work on the memory. We don't want the thoughts working on the memory. We want the mind body system working on the memory. And so we give it time, we set it up to have time, and we position it in a processing state so that the brain can work through the memory.
Thank you for answering that. You've explained it well. Thank you. Rachel, tell us also about, you're on this journey now with your patient, and they're developing resilience. They are becoming more self-aware. They are intentionally now going on a path, shifting their emotions from being actively survival mode, like you mentioned, to an inner peaceful state, we said emotional liberation. When do you know that the healing process A has started, and B, you've accomplished this goal, and they're going to be able to keep in that phase?
Yeah, I know it starts because the very first session I do with people, I am testing interventions with them. And if we get the right support for the survival system, if we get the right intervention, we're going to see the brain shift over into a processing mode. And there's very specific things we're going to see their brain do, their mind, body, and thoughts and brain do. I'm looking for those signs. Once we have an intervention that makes those things happen, then we've, even just with that, holding them into that processing state, even just for 30 seconds, we are already beginning the process. And so once we've got a working intervention, we're going to keep using that one. And some signs we're going to see is we're going to see some insights. We're going to see sometimes epiphanies, people making new connections. We're going to see tension in the body. Like maybe I used an example that we're working on with when we're using an intervention. So maybe we've identified that their chest is tight. After using an intervention, we get the right fit, that is going to loosen up and resolve, and they're not going to be able to find that, or it's going to resolve. Maybe it was a 10 of intensity, and now it's a 6. Those are signs that we've got a working thing, and that the healing processes are moving. So I don't go any farther until we have that online, and then I'm training the client in that intervention because their brain likes it, and so we're going to do it a lot. I have them do that between sessions. Now, I know that we're finished with something when they're consistently doing it. For instance, if somebody comes to me with panic attacks while they're driving, we get the win when those panic attacks stop. Their brain has worked that out and made a healthy way of driving and understands when to panic and when not to panic. Not just we're in the car, we should panic, right? That's a brain that hasn't gone through its healing. It doesn't understand what's happening. It's not accurate yet. Brains that are processing become very, very accurate. And so we're looking for that. And then the mind-body system aligns the behaviors. It aligns the subconscious programming. It aligns the beliefs. And we want to see all of that stuff. And that is really what's going on underneath it when we can now drive without the panic attacks. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. That makes sense. I mean, I think there's a lot going on there. And in the process, it's a slow, steady process. And then obviously it's really highly advisable they reach out to someone who's experienced and stuff. And you're going to sense are you on a good path, and keep them on that path. And I think
Yeah.
those sort of two tie in. For those who are home, what would you recommend someone who has anxiety, someone who has depression, trauma, other disorders? Give us a few strategies that they can deploy home and use them on a daily basis.
Yes. I want to backtrack to what you said. This stuff is extensive and it does take some time, but it's actually pretty fast. I can help people move through their disorder in 2 to 6 months, and on the fast track, or a year, 2 years on a much slower track. But we should see transformation all the time because the brain is reorganizing, rewiring, and healing. And so I don't want people to feel like we're going to be in this forever. Absolutely not. Some of these symptoms you start with, you will never see again once your brain gets a hold of them.
Excellent.
And some of them are really things that will just reduce in time. Okay.
Thank you.
The easiest intervention is emotional freedom techniques. It's designed to be simple. You can use it when you're the most distressed, and you don't have to get it right. You can make a mess of it. So, and there are words that go with this, but I don't like people using words unless they really need it. And there's a low percentage of us that need to be talking while we're tapping. But anytime you find yourself upset, distressed, afraid, worried, you can use this. If you're not finding yourself those ways, you can still use it in the morning when you wake up, at night when you go to bed. Imagine your brain is working on stuff all the time. You're just jumping in here and providing some brain support. So this is why top performers are using this, athletes are using this, CEOs are using this, because it helps brains be awesome. I just happen to use this to help brains heal and resolve disorders, mental health disorders. So anytime that you want to, you can tap on the side of your hand. I like to also tap back here, I'm upset, and tell the truth. Think about the truth. Feel the truth that's moving through your body. And you don't even have to do that. Just tap over here, and then you tap on your eyebrows, outside your eye, under your eyes, under your nose, under your lips. This is what I did. Collarbones, when I resolved my insomnia. Under your arms. There's a spot here on the ribs, a thumb, like you're shaking somebody's hand, and the part of your thumb that's closest to you.
Excellent.
And here. That's it. It's 30 seconds. But remember, we're working with electrical processes, and we're talking to a part of the brain that just needs to know, are we safe or not?
Sure.
And we need to talk to it in the way it understands. It's designed to receive information from the body. That's why we're rocking babies. That's why we're hugging each other, because we're actually talking to each other's survival system in the way the survival system understands. And we're positioning the mind-body system into healing, growth, expansion states. And so this is just how we are. And so you can hug your way through this disorder, but that's a lot of hugging. I don't know who you can find to do that much hugging with. But if you just pull up here and send your survival system the safety signals it needs, all of a sudden you're watching it heal, just as if you were being hugged or rocked or supported. Someone comes to put their hand on your shoulder. And so we want to put that in there so that you can get what you need.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Rachel, tell us, what sort of changes are you seeing in the wellness emotional world there, and what sort of therapies are on the horizon? Everyone asks us about, is AI helping or not helping? What are you seeing with what and sort of things, your experiences that have been, that seems interesting, that's going to pop up? Tell our audience a little bit about a visualization of what's in the horizon in terms of newer therapies, newer approaches, AI or not AI.
Okay, so there are some really wonderful therapies out there, but if we do not get the survival system on board with healing and processing, they're not going to do a thing. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff. You're going to get smarter, but it's not going to change your way of being. It's not going to change your health. It's not going to change your underlying stress levels. The mind-body system is responsible for that, and we need to support the mind-body system in doing that stuff. If we don't get symptoms of anxiety and depression out of the body, we do not resolve this. I don't care how smart you become because you sat in a therapist's office or read all the books. Okay. So that's really huge. And the most amount of work takes the least amount of skill. Like literally all you need to do is learn your intervention and use it a lot. In the beginning of a mental health disorder, I encourage people to use that 2 hours per day. It's a lot. We've got a lot of work to do, especially if you've got generational patterns of trauma that haven't resolved. So having said that, my clients tend to have high level, we're building emotional intelligence. We're building a really strong connection with the self. That relationship with the self is creating so much internal safety, security, stability that we used to depend on the outside world for. And now we're gaining it. So now we're being more independent. And then we can really have more interdependent relationships, more synergistic relationships. So everything's getting healthier. So when my clients talk to me about AI, they're having a lot of successes with AI. And I mean, like, where I have one who's a business owner that is really very kinesthetic. They're not a word person. And all of a sudden they're having these conversations with AI and they're like, that's what I meant. And then they're, so it's really clarified to them and helping expand their own self and their own ability to communicate in the world. I'm hearing stuff outside of my clients that people are getting therapy from AIs. Could be good if it's facilitating that mind body connection, that self exploration, and intervention use. And so I think, like everything, there's ways to use this really good, and there's ways to use it in ways that's going to lead you right off the path and make health and wellness more of an obstacle for you to accomplish. And I think if I want people to have these interventions because I want them to be able to try whatever intervention, whatever therapy they feel called to do, and they can do the mind body system work to process it and really evaluate for themselves if it's really helping or not. Brains that are processing are going to tell you, I don't like this. And you're actually going to listen because your mind body system went through the process of understanding itself. So I'm not that worried about AI and therapy. I do have other concerns with AI.
Absolutely. I think all of us here have concerns and reservations, and we just need to adopt. We just need to transition into this in a smart and effective way. I think we're already very robotic, so yeah. And I think Rachel, we've borrowed a lot of your time, so I appreciate you being with us, and we want to thank you for your insight, and you're doing amazing work. We wish you the best, and thank you for being on our show and telling our audience about a lot of new things. And I'm sure they're going to enjoy this conversation when they listen to it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Absolutely, our pleasure. To our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you or someone you know, remember that healing is possible. Resources like Rachel's programs are available to guide you on that journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with those who will benefit. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and continue taking steps towards emotional wellness.